Welcome to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the set of Stargate SG1. I'm Richard Dean Anderson.
And I'm Brad Wright, executive producer of Stargate SG1. This is the gate room where we shoot our show. What we're going to do is take you on a behind-the-scenes look of Stargate SG1. We're going to have interviews with cast and crew, and you're going to get a look at the show that you've never seen before.
Where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we start at the beginning?
Such a writer.
I know.
Colonel Jack O'Neill?
Retired.
I'm Major Samuels. I'm under orders to bring you to see General Hammond, sir.
Never heard of him.
He replaced General West. He says it's important. Has to do with the Stargate.
I got a call from John Symes, who was president of MGM, and he talked to me about this title that he had, Stargate, and this concept that they were trying to make into a television series. And actually, his pitch to me over the phone made a lot of sense, because it sounded like it would make a good TV series. Actually, a broader and more interesting series than the actual movie.
The thing that intrigued me about the original Stargate movie was that it took a concept that had been batted about a lot by people, by science fiction people in particular, that ancient Egypt was partially built or completely built by aliens. The Stargate movie actually took that theory and turned it into a science fiction movie, which I thought was a lot of fun. I wish I had thought of it.
When I found out that they were planning on doing Stargate, I approached MGM on my own and said, I'd really love to write that as that pilot as part of my deal. Jonathan had also approached MGM and said, I'd really, really love to do this project. So John Symes, the clever man that he is, decided to make us partners. So he called us each individually and said, how do you guys like to do it together? And we said, great, because we loved working together.
John just called me and said, I want you to do this project. And I said, well, what is it? And he said they had, MGM had purchased the rights to the Stargate franchise, and that they were developing a series, and that he wanted me to be a part of it. So I looked at the movie a couple of times and saw great potential for a series, for a franchise, because of all the elements involved in it. So I kind of signed on for it. It was originally supposed to be a 2-year gig. Showtime had ordered up 44 episodes. In the middle of the first season, they ordered another 44, so the ball started rolling successfully pretty early on. But my involvement was by request.
I told him that, well, you know, if we're going to try and get Rick involved, then he's going to have a lot more leeway with the character.
I had to make sure that they were willing to put up with, well, in this case, endure my sense of humor and bring it in, somehow infiltrate it into the character subtly or with a sledgehammer.
Lucy, I'm home.
I am not Lucy.
Oh, for crying out loud, will you just open the door?
Once all the pieces were put into place to create the series, the biggest task still lay before us, and that was to create a story that stayed true to the feature, but was unique in its own way. And I think we pulled it off.
Well, it wasn't without its challenges.
To get the ball rolling and to execute the vision that we all had for the series was sizing up to be a pretty monumental task, because Stargate is a heavily visual effects laden show.
The movie ended with Daniel Jackson stuck on Abydos, and Jack O'Neill having left the military, and everything kind of shut down. So the fun thing about the pilot was actually having the Stargate mothballed and figuring out that it goes other places, and figuring out how to get Daniel Jackson back, because he was a wonderful character that we wanted to keep alive. So that's what we set about to do, and we wrote a pilot basically about that, about getting Jack O'Neill back into the military, getting Daniel Jackson back to Earth, and discovering that the gate goes other places.
Permission to take a team through the Stargate, sir.
Consider yourself recalled to active duty, Colonel.
The one thing that we knew we'd have to do is create this cartouche that that showed that there were hundreds of Stargates out there. And we stayed true to the myth that the Stargate was used to pull humans through the wormhole to other planets as slaves.
Good choice, Teal'c. Perfect specimen.
For the pilot, we were actually shooting in the largest soundstage in North America because we had such massive sets to put up. And the Stargate facility itself is 2 stories tall. And it's got all these different levels, and the Stargate itself is 22 feet tall. So the set has, in order to shoot up at it with a camera, the set has to be almost twice that tall. So we pulled off some pretty big stuff there, and we had an amazing team behind us doing it.
I remember Michael Shanks and I walking in and seeing the Stargate for the very first time. My God, look at this. Wait, the energy the gate must release to create a stable wormhole, it's astronomical, to use exactly the right word. Just walking in and suddenly seeing this Stargate, I mean, we both sort of went, wow, this is huge. You can actually see the fluctuations in the event horizon. We were actually quite blown away.
Oddly enough, the original Stargate from the feature had been stored out in the desert outside in California, and had completely fallen apart, disintegrated.
It was junk at that point, but it was still being stored. And what I was able to get from it was I'd give it to our sculptors, and we could at least pull a mold off of it for all of the detail in it. We didn't have to start from scratch and sculpting a mold. So we built our own Stargate.
Our guys had to actually engineer a Stargate that would actually work. Now, I mean, it doesn't have a wormhole that goes to other planets, but it actually turns, the chevrons actually lock. It's completely computer controlled, so we can actually program in addresses, and the right ones would go to the right place.
There's a 30-foot gear inside of that thing. So every time it spins, in 4 seasons, that chevron thing has never missed. It's computer operated now. We can turn it anywhere and it locks on a dime. So our special effects people did a great job in putting that part together.
Clearly, a huge part of the appeal of Stargate SG1 is the action and the visual effects of the show. But I think all of that would be meaningless if it wasn't for the strong ensemble cast that we have.
Which I believe is the most important element of all movie making.
I think it's clearly the most important thing.
Yes. Yes, the cast.
General Hammond, Colonel Jack O'Neill.
Retired.
I can see that. Me, I'm on my last tour. Time to start getting my thoughts together, maybe write a book. You ever think of writing a book about your exploits in the line of duty?
I've thought about it, but then I'd have to shoot anyone that actually read it. That's a joke, sir.
Yes, of course.
The Jack O'Neill of the feature film that Kurt Russell portrayed went into a dark place, and his adventure with Daniel Jackson brought him out of it again.
Kurt did a phenomenal job for that O'Neill and that movie, and you can get away with it in just a one-movie character arc. But for Rick to be interested in doing a long-running series, he has to have a much broader range for it to be interesting to him.
Just remember, I retired. You wanted me back.
When I met Rick, and he's got such a natural presence. He's got such a natural sense of humor. He's flip. He's a little glib. That's Jack O'Neill.
All right, anybody with a snake in their head, raise their hand.
Damn. What now?
Now we die.
Well, that's a bad plan.
Lately, I get this weird feeling when I'm near Teal'c.
Hey, who doesn't? Well, this sucks.
I want to make sure you get one thing right. It's O'Neill, with 2 L's. There's another Colonel O'Neill with only 1 L. He has no sense of humor at all.
Kurt Russell is just, he's a phenomenal guy, and he did a great job with it, with the character. And but I knew just by looking at his hair that I couldn't do that. I mean, who can do that with their hair? The type of humor that I appreciate most is mostly British humor, but my favorite show on television is The Simpsons, and partially because it is just a, you know, it's a cartoon, first of all, but it's also smart.
I remember something. There's a man. He's bald and wears a short-sleeved shirt, and somehow he's very important to me. I think his name is Homer.
Doesn't ring a bell.
When Jonathan and I were first conceiving her character, I was concerned, and arguably so, that we were creating a superwoman. She was a military officer. She was a physicist. She was beautiful. She was perfect. She had a lot of those attributes that make a character ring false if it's not portrayed correctly.
Sam Carter was very linear. She was one-dimensional in that she was this out-to-prove herself feminist sitting on her soapbox with this raging diatribe about equality, which I personally, as a feminist, found really tired and really boring. I take it you're Colonel O'Neill. Captain Samantha Carter reporting, sir.
But of course you go by Sam.
You don't have to worry, Major. I played with dolls when I was a kid. So I talked to the writers about it and said, A, women don't talk like this. B, why can't she just be a member of this team without constantly raising the flag that she's a woman?
Well, that was refreshing.
She's she's, I think, an integral member of SG1. She loves the people that she works with and would die for them. And that's something I really like about her, is her incredible loyalty. And she's starting to warm up a bit and have some fun.
What you doing?
They salvaged a couple of replicator pieces from the ocean. I thought I'd have a look.
Is that wise?
Well, there's no discernible energy being emitted. I think it's pretty safe to say they're dead.
Well, I'm off.
Still going fishing?
Yep. Still staying here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have fun.
Yeah, sure, you betcha.
They should never be together. Sure, there's the potential for us to fall in love, and definitely we're attracted to each other, and that's fine, but we also need to temper it with the fact that it's not going anywhere. We had sort of a 3-episode arc where you actually see that they admit that there's deeper feelings for each other.
I didn't leave because I'd have rather died myself than lose Carter.
Why?
Because I care about her. A lot more than I'm supposed to.
We leave it at, okay, we admit it, we finally said it out loud. I love you, you love me, or I would die for you, you would die for me. And not just because we're, in the military. This is as far as it goes. What are you smiling at?
Nothing.
First of all, I don't want to dismiss the idea that there would ever be a future for the two of them. Who knows? Tune in next week.
Carter, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were in here. Hey, what the hell's going on?
I want you.
Why? I didn't know.
Carter, this is a little out of line.
Don't you think?
Crying out loud.
Chahari! Chahari! Lower your guns. Hello, Jack. Oh, welcome back.
Michael Shanks walks in and does a perfect imitation of James Spader. And he portrayed the Daniel Jackson from the feature perfectly. And I knew that was a great place to start, and I also knew that meant he was obviously going to be capable of going so much farther. And I think over the course of the last 4 seasons, Daniel has grown from the archaeologist nerd that he began as, and he's become a capable soldier. You should see him with a P90 running down the halls in episode 1 of season 5.
I think the best way to put it is he is
a type of moral conscience for the team. He started off being that, you know, token translator, but due to the nature of our show, we can't exactly have every alien race speaking another language, so he's become more of a moral center to the team, and he's the person who tries to see outside of the box. We've only ever seen one side of this. Do we even know why they're fighting?
For their lives.
Yes, and I was all for saving those lives, but we're about to go way, way, way beyond that. We're about to turn the tide of a world war that we know nothing about against an enemy that we know nothing about. Is that the right way to get their technology? Yes, but is it the right thing to do? He adds that other dimension of, well, let's look at this more as human beings than as some people who have to follow orders to achieve a goal. So I think he's the naive one. He's the more innocent one, but he's also, I think, the believer in the best of human nature. Don't shoot! Ka!
Daniel?
What did you just say?
I think I just asked him not to kill me.
And they're buying that?
He's the only guy out of the entire cast when we were picking everyone who we all saw and went, okay, Teal'c, good, moving on. It was so obvious. He spoke, he's got the voice, he's got the presence, his arms are as thick as my waist. He was the guy.
You.
It's very difficult to write for Teal'c. He doesn't, make suggestions. He doesn't jump in and make jokes. He doesn't share in the same banter that the other three members of SG1 often participate in. But he is, in so many ways, the center. He's the still one. He's the center of the group.
How does she fly, son?
The vehicle performed within expected parameters.
Woohoo!
Sorry, sir. I couldn't help but get caught up in Teal'c's enthusiasm.
I think in the beginning, Teal'c was very focused on his people and their plight and freeing his people and his wife and son, and didn't really care to assimilate much with human beings or anyone else that he came across. I think he was very single-minded in his quest to help his people.
Father!
Rack!
I never meant to hurt you, Father.
Rack is returned.
Does anyone besides me think this was just a little too easy?
Yeah, careful, Teal'c. That was an awfully fast turnaround.
My son is strong. His mind has overcome the lies Apophis placed there. I think Korai was the show where you really saw what an honorable and honest character that Teal'c is.
So you were following orders?
Hanno's father died by my hand. No one else's. I am responsible. What I did while serving Apophis, I will not hide from.
Even if the punishment is death?
Then that is what I deserve.
Teal'c, you sound like you want to die.
Colonel O'Neill, have you ever faced the crying eyes of a child whose father you have just murdered?
Not exactly.
The notion that of honesty and being accountable for things in your life, no matter what the repercussions are, I think that's the pure essence of Teal'c.
Teal'c, look scary and take point.
General, maybe we should consider using the Stargate as a strategic weapons platform.
We already tried to send a team through to Dr. Jackson's coordinates. It won't work. And I can't think of any military reason to wipe out the people of Teal'c.
Since I am no longer wanted or needed here, I respectfully request permission to join one of the teams headed for the Alpha site, at least
Permission denied. The idea is to send the best and brightest, Colonel. When the time comes, you will stand alongside the men and women of this command in defense of this facility.
But, sir,
I ask no more or less of myself. Dismissed.
The biggest compliment to Don that I can think of is that he truly does portray a military officer, especially a command military officer, with accuracy. He's not bombastic. He doesn't throw orders around like most television generals or film generals, for that matter. he's a thoughtful, considerate man, and I think that lends a lot of credibility to the character.
You've all been briefed on the mission by Colonel Makepeace. You know the enemy. You know the risks. What I'm trying to say is, I would rather not order you to do this. So I would like all of those willing to attempt the rescue of SG1 to take one step. His strengths are his intense loyalty to his people and to his family. There is an episode called Chain Reaction, in which some people threaten to kidnap his grandchildren, and as a result, he resigns. He leaves the command, regardless of how much he's invested in it and how much he loves the service. He will not cross that line. Let me just say it's been a pleasure serving with all of you.
Miss you, sir.
It won't be the same without you, sir.
On Teal'c, when a great warrior retires from the field of battle, it is customary to sing a song of lament. Fortunately, we are not on Teal'c.
Take care of yourselves. That episode when he commits a court-martialable offense to go save SG1, going through the gate himself and using aliens to save SG1, there's no way that, other than his superiors caring that much about him, that he could get away with that. And yet he'll give up everything. What exactly did he mean by threading the needle?
Observe. Fire.
I think that those people are people that you want to invite into your house every week, and they are people that obviously care about each other, and I think that comes through in the show in a way that, you know, the longer it's on the air, the more their bonds grow more firm, and I think that's invaluable.
Well?
Well, hopefully you've now gained a little more insight into our show and its characters and enjoyed following their many adventures.
Oh, time flies. Say what, Bradley?
Yes, it does, Richard. You know, our goal continues to focus on taking these characters in new directions and pushing the envelope wherever we can.
Which, by the way, I think is the most important aspect of all production.
You're right again. That's true.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Richard Dean Anderson. Which apparently is very funny.
So where should we start? The beginning?
Welcome to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and the Stargate set of... Look, I could dig my way out of it if you wouldn't laugh so much. I have a way. Some have a way with words, some not have way.
No.
I are one of them.